Welcome to the Author's Edge radio show with Gaëlle Freer and Bob Price. Now, their show airs nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Each week on their show, they help authors create books that transform our lives and imaginations. Through radio excellence, they create a unique community resource, one that promotes, connects, and fosters a sense of well-being. Gaëlle and Bob maintain a focus on sharing books, publishing, marketing, and writing solutions. They serve listeners by providing outlets for their creative skills and energies, and they help them flourish in the competitive marketplace. Their weekly show provides intros, writing spotlights, helps you in promoting your book, your writing, your publishing, your marketing tidbits, and much more. Okay, audience, here's Gaëlle and Bob.
Hey. You're right here from Paris? Oh, no.
No, the last place was Barcelona.
Yes, Barcelona.
Yes, I flew in from Barcelona. We had an absolutely outstanding trip. I couldn't have been better. There's nothing that would have made it better. We went to Iceland, Reykjavik, which is absolutely magical. We went to London, and we stayed in Piccadilly Circus area, which was exciting.
Was there a circus?
Yes.
Oh.
Always a circus. We went to Paris, was romantic. Ooh. We went to Nice, France, which was nice and tropical and hot and warm. And we went to Barcelona with click, 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 click.
You didn't go to Cannes?
No, we did. We did go to Cannes. We were there at the time that they had the festival, and it was packed to the gills.
I'll bet.
And it rained. Oh my goodness gracious, it rained. So, but it was a wonderful trip. We had a great time. He spent a lot of time walking. We walked miles. And then he kept telling me, my husband kept telling me, you're going to kill me with all this luggage. We overpacked. I specifically overpacked.
You're kidding. I don't know a woman who ever does that.
I really did. It was just a lot. So, but we had a great time.
Should have hired a boy.
I could have hired you.
Yeah, I'm in my youth.
But yeah, we had such a good time. We really did.
Oh, cool.
And I did send you pictures. I did at the beginning. I sent you pictures, and then we got
two pictures.
No, I sent you more than that. I sent you pictures from Reykjavik and London.
I was going to put them on the website.
We can still put them on the website.
No, they're old.
I'm not going to say a word. I'm not saying anything. Okay? All right. Well, will you tell me about who we have today?
Well, today we've got Barbara Sontheimer, and she has a BA from a little college in the bootheel of Missouri. What school was that?
Southeast Missouri State University.
Well, that's not a little school. I spent... Excuse me. It choked me up.
Sentimental here?
And spent 15 years researching and writing Victor's Blessing while raising 3 children. A fascination with everyday life of the people, not the battles, was the driving force. One of her greatest hopes was for her novel is that someone turns out the light a bit too late on a work night, or, like she did, occasionally hid from her kids in the laundry room to finish a chapter. Barbara is married and lives in Lake Ozark, Missouri. And, by the way, we've got giveaways of her book, so be ready.
Absolutely.
So what inspired you, Barbara? And hello.
Hello.
What inspired you to write Victor's Blessing?
Well, I don't think I really wrote it. So my mother, towards the end of her life, she was an invalid. And I don't know if you've ever been with anybody who's been ill for a very long time, but there's not much they can do but sit and talk. So we were sitting around one night and talking about the Revolutionary War. Doesn't everyone, I know. And she had read something about General Washington letting the troops go home during the long years that the war went on for the nation's independence to put the crops in for their children. Otherwise, if they were out fighting, they would starve. And my mother said, wouldn't it be cool if when he came home to put in the crops, she later found out that he'd been killed and it was his ghost that came back?
Oh, my.
And I said, I like that.
That is such a cool idea. That's when you have a lot of time on your hands.
Yes. Yes, it is. Well, how long have you been writing?
I started writing when I was 9. And when I was 18, I was convinced that I didn't even need to go to college. I was going to publish books. Well, that didn't turn out. And then it turns out you have to feed yourself when you're an adult. So I worked, got married a couple times, had a couple kids, 3 to be exact. And about 15 years ago, I started thinking about what my mother said, and I was more interested in the Civil War, so I changed the location from revolutionary to civil and just sat down at I'm embarrassed to admit this, a typewriter and started to type.
Did it have the little ball on it?
A Selectric? Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
My.
Oh, wow. What motivated you to start writing?
I'm sure you've done it. You're watching a great movie and it's awesome and you love it, and then the character does something so incredibly stupid and you think to yourself, that's ridiculous. If they had done it this way and that way and they turned left when they should have turned right, and it annoyed me. And I would find myself rewriting the story in my head. I'm like, they had a great idea, but it fell apart here. So
Yeah.
I just read a book. Since we've been back, I've been plowing through my stack of books on my nightstand. One of the books that I just read was exactly that, and I kept reading. And I'm compelled, OCD, that I have to finish the book. Okay, same thing. I kept reading. I was like, this doesn't work for me. This doesn't work for me, and it just didn't. And I sat there and I'm like,
You mean you don't run into the chainsaw shed
no, you
in the horror
don't.
movie?
I love that commercial. It's not getting a running car.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the hardest part of the writing process for you?
The editing.
Oh, everybody says that.
And you give it to one person, they read it and they take out the commas. You give it to the next person and they put in the commas. And then you find out that you've got too many point of views, and it just goes on until you've rewritten the same sentence 10 times and it doesn't even mean what you meant it to mean originally.
Absolutely. That is truly the hardest part. And what you need to do is settle on 2 or 3 people to do it, and then stop there.
I run it through Grammarly.
Well, yeah, but you can only do so much with Grammarly.
Yeah.
You really can. You really do need somebody with a set of eyes to read, because Grammarly doesn't always pick up. Surprisingly
Well,
enough,
point of view, which is
Right.
an interesting.
Well, I
catch.
left it that way because
Yeah.
I still liked it. I call it being in other people's heads.
and sometimes you just have to say, okay, I know what you're saying, but this is the way I like it, and this is the way I want it to look, and this is the way I want it to read. Sometimes you just have to back away and say that, as long as the grammar and the spelling and the basics are correct, then sometimes you just have to back away and say, this is the way I want it to read. So, I mean,
Because you could edit forever.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And never publish.
And never publish. How did you do your research for this?
It was so much fun. Truly. But the problem with me for the research is I kept finding interesting things.
And
And
going
then
down rabbit holes.
And then I'd put them in the book, which is why it's 586 pages. Brevity is not my strong suit. I'm like, that's really cool. I have to put that in.
I love rabbit holes. They get dark in there sometimes, but I love rabbit holes.
What challenges did you face during that research that you want to share with us?
There were conflicting reports, and I would try and get several books, not just Google. I love Google, but Google.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Not always right.
Get different books to see if I could find it. One of the most famous ones is how many casualties there are in a battle. And every book will give you a different number of casualties for battles. So finally, I would find a couple that had the same number and just kind of fudge it and go with it.
Right.
It just gets ridiculous.
And I don't think that's something that people are going to hunt down and say, oh, she did this many casualties and they were really that many.
Well, no, and it's not a history book.
Right.
But I tried very, very hard to make it as historically accurate as I could, because I know there's somebody out there that's going to email me and say, do you realize that you said
blah,
this?
blah, blah.
So that's why I had the publisher put that line in the front that historical references are made, and we tried as hard as we could. Some facts may have been bent slightly for the story, but I didn't,
We interviewed everybody we could. What did you find that really surprised you in your research?
How little research there was about the Osage Indians, which is what my hero is.
Oh, really?
I couldn't find nearly as much out about them as I thought I could, and I combed the libraries for that time period. There's earlier time periods about the Osage Indians, but not a half Osage man that had integrated into, forgive me for saying this, white society
Right.
in St. Genevieve, which was also French and German. But there wasn't much there, so I had to kind of do what I thought someone in that position would feel like and think about.
Well, I have an ex-wife. It's Choctaw. You can talk
Oh, how interesting.
to. I don't know where that came from.
I don't know either.
How do your research methods contribute to an accurate portrayal of everyday life in the bootheel?
Well, because I went to school down there. Not that I know everything there. I went to St. Genevieve several times. Lovely town,
Yes,
if you ever get the chance.
it is lovely.
And kind of still lost in time.
It is.
It was founded in
absolutely.
1725, and they haven't moved a whole lot.
No, and they still have a lot of the older buildings and historically correct. I mean, they renovated some of them, but it's a delightful time. Ralph and I, we've been there several times, and it's just in August. I think they have a big festival. Yeah, you should check it out. Have you ever been there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Yes. It's really nice.
I like St. John very much.
It is. I do
Yeah,
like it.
it
It's
is
a delightful
cool.
town.
Were there any scenes that you had trouble writing with your book? And in other words, were there certain things that posed a big problem?
I wasn't, as I said earlier, as interested in the battles. There are far more eloquent historians than I that could talk about the battles. I'm also not very political, that could talk about the politics. So I tried to really tell a story from the average person's standpoint and what they would have talked around the dinner table. I mean, I don't know what you speak of in your home. We'll speak about the news a little bit, and then you're just trying to live your life.
Right.
So I tried to do the story from that standpoint.
About the fields being plowed and,
Yes.
the clothes that have to be washed, the chickens that have to be fed. Yeah, that
Yes.
kind of stuff. What are the chores that need to be done today? That kind of stuff. An accounting of things. That makes sense. That's all.
Feeding the pigs and feeding the chickens too?
Feeding the pigs and the chickens.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I've done that too.
When I picked St. Genevieve. I wanted St. Louis is older, no, it's not older, but it was a big enough town. Obviously, I live here. There's tons of research, but I couldn't make my hero. I wanted him to be a big fish in a small pond. And then Kimswick was the next town down, 55, but it wasn't in existence yet. It wasn't old enough. So I just kept going down 55, and I'm like, I'll find a town. I'll find a town.
Wow.
That's how I ended up in St. John. And then all the wonderful French and German immigrants. It's just lovely.
Yeah, it is. It's lovely. And they've got some really good restaurants there too.
The Anvil.
Yeah. So,
Well, you're listening to The Author's Edge with Gaëlle Freer and Bob Price, coming to you weekly on Mondays at 3 p.m. on KWRH 92.9 and KXOK 102.9 FM, and Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network.
So, Bob, do you have any marketing tidbits you want to give us today?
No,
Oh, you didn't do your homework?
no.
I'm telling you, you must have been the worst student in class. I'm telling you. You must have been.
Well, I was a class clown.
Oh,
That was hard work.
yeah. Which meant that you didn't do your homework.
Kind of. Well, you have done your homework,
That's right.
and you have something to offer.
I do. On page 58, this quote appears: "A haunting memory flooded over Ethan when his own little sister had died. He had not thought of her in years. He glanced at the empty chairs around the table and wondered how different or better his life would have been if she had lived. He tried to imagine her sitting at one of the chairs, but had trouble conjuring up her face." Tell us about that quote.
I tried to tell a story with a lot of rich characters with flaws and feelings, and Victor is doing something very magnanimous and wonderful for his sister. And Ethan, who is his best friend, is the wealthy banker in town. I know, a little bit of cliche there, but it was really fun to write. And there's just nothing like family. Money can't buy you family, and he's feeling the loss of everything in his life.
Yeah, I can see that. Do you believe in ghosts and the supernatural?
I certainly want to.
So do I. I agree. I would love to, but I don't. But the reality of it just doesn't work in my head.
I'm not sure.
You know, when you're selling homes in New York,
Uh-huh.
you have to disclose whether there's any ghosts.
Really?
Yes, it's
Oh my!
a real estate requirement. You list your home, and you have to disclose if there are any ghosts.
Oh my goodness gracious!
But
I wonder if there are any ghosts in our house. Are there any ghosts in our house?
No.
No. Okay.
Are you sure?
Not a ghost of a chance.
No ghosts in
Not a
our
ghost to a chance. That's pretty funny, Ralph.
What was your motivation to write this novel? I mean, I think you did talk about it a little bit in the beginning when you talked about your mom, but was there more to it than that? I mean,
I tried to write a story that I would like to read. Most writers are avid readers. I'm nothing different. And, I grew up on Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre and The Winding Stair and, Green Mansions and all those wonderful, slightly fantastical novels that, either had the mad wife in the attic or the walking on the moors.
Rebecca.
Rebecca too, or Rima, the tree girl in Green Mansions. And I thought, if I could do something fun like that, I just want to see if I can.
Have you written any other books?
Yes, in my head, there's lots. There's lots of scary things going on up there.
I've got 3 books on my computer.
Are you going to write them?
Yes, I'm actually in process of writing a novel about women that came from France to Biloxi, Mississippi in 1721 as the prospective brides for the settlers.
Oh yes.
And it's not like, remember Here Come the Brides?
Yeah,
Well,
no,
that was,
it's not that.
It's not
no,
like that at all.
No.
That any of these women actually survived the voyage from France in January to Biloxi is amazing just to begin with. And then once they got here, swamp infested, alligators, everything else. So
Yeah.
I thought that was fascinating.
Let me ask you a little bit about writing. In other words, what do you think are the most important elements for creating a compelling story?
I would say details. I like details about, what the molding was around the door. I mean, not paragraphs of it, but a line or two. And not just what someone's hair color or eye color is, but their mannerisms and how they looked at you, how they spoke. I think all that makes it become a movie in your head. And if a book can't do that, I don't want to read it.
Do you have much trouble with dialogue?
No, I did great with dialogue. I could write an argument that was so believable from both sides. It's frightening.
Really? All right.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
What techniques do you use to build suspense and keep readers engaged?
Well, I hoped the story itself did that. One of my other motivations was to try and tell a story about a happily married couple without a bunch of strife between them. which I did. So I made the strife outside of their lives. Because let's face it, we all want the happily ever after, but then the story's over. And I always wondered, well, what happens after the
Next.
happily after when I've got 2 glass slippers?
Yeah. And I always want to know that what happens next too. Always.
And that's why soap operas.
After the
Book is out, after the happily ever after, I want to know, is it really happily ever after? Or is it just happily after because the author got tired and wanted to stop writing? You know.
We never want to stop.
Or wanted to go on to a different story. But no, I always want to know what happens next. That's the only reason why I kept reading the one book that I was reading that I kept saying to myself, this isn't right. This isn't right. But I wanted to know what happened next.
What are the themes that you covered in the book? What kind of a message do you think?
Well, my hero is a half Osage man whose mother was an Osage slave. And that was very interesting to me. So it was slavery on a different side. He obviously wasn't African-American. And this has all been very well researched. There were tons of Osage Indians in the area. And I made him 6'4" because even in that time, they were routinely over 6 feet tall. So that part's accurate. And then the other one was acceptance, because he's accepted by the town, even though he's half not white, so to speak. And then forgiveness, because everything that happens to him, and he continues to forgive till the very end.
Wow.
So the title of the book, Victor's Blessing, is there forgiveness?
If you bestow someone a blessing, that's kind of what you're doing.
Okay. Now, as a woman and as somebody from my generation, working and going to school and taking care of kids, how'd you make that work with writing a book?
My kids got very used to mommy's in that weird room, which was a closet. And there's a light in there. And when the light is on, don't bother her. Now, I kept them fed, dressed, clothed, washed, fixed, everything. But they knew. They got, but I did used to hide from them in the laundry room.
Yeah.
To get away.
Yeah.
But they laugh about it now. And they're my biggest supporters. They're so proud of me. It's hilarious.
What has been the most rewarding part of writing Victor's Blessings?
Just to see that name on a book. Not my name, Victor's Blessing, because I titled it even before I wrote it, because I had the entire 582 pages mapped out in my mind.
How did you decide on that title?
Because I always knew what was going to happen.
And how did you decide on Victor?
I wanted a strong name that makes me think of Jason Momoa. So,
do I hear you? Do I hear you on that? Yes. So, have you written any? Well, I think I already asked you that. Have you written any other books? And you said you had some in your head.
Yes, I wrote a bunch when I was 18, although I'm kind of afraid to look at them. They're probably so frightening, but I'm going to continue to do this as long as I can.
Great. Are we ready for a commercial break? Are we? Yes? Yeah, let's do a commercial break because we have tons more questions to ask.
52 pages.
52 pages. Oh my, oh my, oh my.
If you're looking for a new, informative health and lifestyle show to gain knowledge and inspiration to help guide your journey to think, work, and live more powerfully, then you need to listen to Sage Advice with Melissa. Now, whether you're trying to improve your life from a mental, physical, or spiritual journey, Sage Advice with Melissa Coleman, CEO of Sage Skincare, delivers weekly advice from industry experts to provide you with insightful suggestions to allow you to thrive with a better quality of life. Melissa's mission? To guide you through the uncharted waters of health and wellness and to give you a voice to help improve your life. So be sure to tune in to Melissa. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, listeners, saying thanks to your customers is nice and polite, but expressing your gratitude in memorable and ongoing ways can boost your business. At Promo Experts LLC, we exceed our customers' expectations. For over 20 years, our product knowledge and experience has helped them with their marketing initiatives and trade show graphics. We are happy to put that experience to work for you. Quality products, great customer service, and prices are our #1 priority. We work with you to find unique, creative, and new ideas that fit your image and expectations, helping you build strong relationships with your customers. When you select Promo Experts as your marketing partner, we help you to see more than the big picture. For more information about this exciting opportunity, contact Diane Carson, President, at 636-458-5241. That's 636-458-5241. Let Promo Experts help you to move your business brand beyond the bland.
Listening to Gaëlle and Bob from Author's Edge, chatting with Barbara Sontheimer.
Well, I do have a couple of things I want to tell everybody about.
Well, you can.
Thank you for
You
your
have
permission.
the floor.
Oh my gosh. I think, anyway. All right, first off, there are 2 book fairs coming up. One is in Anna, Illinois. It's at Kiki's Coffee House, 326 South Main Street. So if you're near there and you want to do it, it's on July 22nd is Kiki's Coffee House Book Fair. And then there is also another one in Cape Girardeau, the Cape Girardeau Public Library. There's going to be the local fall art fair, and it'll be on September 2nd from 1 to 3:30. So if you are interested in signing up, please contact Victoria at the Cape Library. It's victoria@capelibrary.org, and her phone number is 573-334-5279. So contact Victoria at Cape Girardeau Public Library for the September 2nd
Author's Art.
Author's Art Fair. There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
You get a lollipop for that.
Oh, good. I like lollipops as long as they have a Tootsie Roll in the middle. Okay. However, there's also something I want to add here with Barbara. Her book is also at the the Spine Bookstore and Cafe. So if you want to buy it, you can buy it on Amazon.
That's off Arsenal.
That's off of
in
Arsenal.
St. Louis.
In St. Louis. 2 things I want to say about that place. One, it was a delightful place. I went in there today. It is absolutely a sweet little place to go and hang out. And they are having on July 1st, they're having a pro-peace, anti-violence book thing. And you can find more information about that on their website, which is spinebookstorecafe.com. And in early September, they're going to have a book fair. So check out the Spine Bookstore and Cafe on Arsenal. It's a delightful little store. You can buy Barbara's book there. And they have all kinds of things going on.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, let's see. What else can we talk about with Barbara?
Well, what are some of the major challenges you faced, while you were writing that? Is it just getting away from the kids in the laundry room, or?
It's a big project. Making sure all the dates were right. Victor has 6 children, and as the story went on, I had to make sure their ages were right and they were acting appropriately. So I was doing backwards math all the time, which is not my strong suit. And I'm like, oh, Ben wouldn't act that way. He's 12. He's not going to be toddling. So when you write, because the story starts in 1830 and ends in 1898, that's a long time to keep everything accurate, current, people acting correctly. So I had to make sure that I had people doing the correct things and didn't say the end of the war was a year before it was, and all kinds of things like that, because it spans 50 years. So
Oh, wow. 50 years.
1830 to 1898.
Wow.
That's a story.
That's a
That's a
story. That's a story.
Yeah,
That is a
yes.
story. So how did your education from a small college in Missouri influence your writing style?
I loved that college. I had a wonderful time there. I had some wonderful professors. And people always say, oh, you can't get a good education from a small school like that. And I always say, you get out of your education what you put into it.
Exactly.
And I loved it there. I got a good education. I came out into the world. I was in outside sales for 25 years, which is kind of shocking because, believe it or not, I'm kind of shy. And most writers are
You're shy?
Yes.
Oh my. I wonder what
What were you
Chatty-
selling? Yeah.
what were you selling?
I sold pharmaceuticals. So I called
All
on
right.
physicians in their offices.
Wow. And you're shy. I want to know if
You
you
make
if
good
she-
money selling
if she's shy, then
pharmaceuticals,
what's a loud person like?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, never mind. I know what she's like.
How close are you?
Well, it's amazing what you can make yourself do when it makes your house payment and it makes you be able to eat.
Yes.
And I liked eating.
Yes.
Yeah.
But most writers are kind of odd to spend that much time with people that don't exist in your head, and they are so real to you. You know what they're wearing, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. You're a little off anyway.
How about the women's fashion
Oh my
of
gosh.
the time?
I had so much fun.
I really want to know more about that.
It was a blast to do the research. It was fun to talk about.
Do
Most
you have
of
any of
those
those dresses in your house?
I don't.
Oh my. You should have come costumed.
I should have.
That would have been so cool. Especially since we have video.
It would have been.
Right. But no, tell me about the fashions.
Most of those wonderful dresses you see were two pieces, and I didn't realize they were. So the skirt, which was an outer skirt, and there would be underskirts under it, and then of course petticoats and pantalettes and a shimmy under that. But the tops, for daytime, they would go to the throat, and in the evening you would have the low décolletage. But each outfit was two pieces or more. I just thought that was fascinating.
Oh my goodness.
With no air conditioning.
I know. Look at the layers of clothing.
Yeah.
But they were all cotton.
But
Cotton
also,
reeds.
if you look at people in very warm climates, they wear a lot of clothing to cover themselves from the sun.
Right.
And again, it wasn't polyester, so it was
Right.
going to be breathable.
Right.
But-
But I would have thought that would have been fascinating
was.
to do all that.
I had so much fun.
fashion.
And how they did the laundry
tell
was
us about that.
excruciating. Well, you've got to pump the water, you've got to heat the water, you've got to soak the clothes, you've got to make your own soap. And then if you want your whites to be white, you got to have borax or indigo to go with it. I mean, it was
A process.
a process, which I
No
found
wonder they had
oddly
a laundry
fascinating.
day.
Yes.
I can remember being at my grandmother's and out at the pump.
Yeah.
Yes. Hauling water in. Yeah. It was something. Or either that or boiling corn
Oh my.
to make hominy.
Oh no, my grandmother was a washerwoman. My
Oh.
mother's mother was a washerwoman, and
Wow.
she did it by the river. And this is in France, though. This is not here. But
Was
yeah,
it different in France? They do it left-handed or right-handed?
you're gonna get smacked. You know that. You know that. Remember, the teacher never goes away. But anyway, no, she did her laundry. She was a washerwoman. That's
I'll
how
be
she
darned.
made extra money for the family. Yeah. So talking about the
Yes,
laundry,
I,
yes,
I found those little factoids fascinating.
absolutely.
And in the ovens, like we would turn the dial in our oven for the temperature.
Right.
Well, they had trammel hooks, and they were metal hooks that were in the fire, and they were linked, and you could shorten them or higher them. And the closer it was to the flame, the higher the temperature, and vice versa. And that's some of the way that they could
Regulate the heat.
regulate the temperature.
And cooking was what about the food?
The food was fun too. And St. John is such a rich cultural place for food because you've got the wonderful, scrumptious French food, and then you've got liver naflies, which I don't think I want them, but they're a German delicacy.
Liver and what?
Naflies, they're Knaflies, naflies. Could be naflies. I could be mispronouncing it.
You
But
raise
what
them with
is
the
it?
chickens? Yeah.
No. Liver. It's chicken
Yeah.
liver.
Yeah.
And then it's like a biscuit type of thing.
Oh.
Eaten together. To the best of my knowledge. Now, someone from St. John is going to call in and say, that girl has no idea what she's talking
They're
about.
gathering outside.
As we speak. But those are the details that I find fascinating. It's the clothing and the food and how they taught their children, how they went to school, the schooling that those are the whenever I like to I always want to know what's going on inside the house, not outside the house. Because I can see what's going on the outside house.
Wow.
I want to know how they live their lives, the little things. That's what I always think is really, really fascinating. I really do. Yeah. So,
What about your writing process? In other words, what did you set in motion that helped you get through everything you wanted to do?
I got a lot of stacks of paper because I originally wrote it on a typewriter. Again, I'm embarrassed to admit.
Wow.
And then my sister,
Elizabeth,
who's sitting here today,
all right.
said, my nickname is Cat. It's a long story. She said, Cat, you can't possibly write it on a typewriter. You have to get a computer.
Absolutely.
And I said, no, I don't want to get a computer. And she said, the editing will be much easier. And I said, okay.
And it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
But I didn't say I have to sit here for 4 hours or I have to get this chapter done. I just,
How long did it take you to
well,
write this book?
it was 15 years from inception to publication.
Wow.
But active years writing is probably more like 5. Because like I said, I was getting married and divorced and raising kids and working full time.
Just a minor item and all on the side. Huh? Wow.
15 years.
15 years.
I know, it's a long time.
No, but sometimes the best things take a long time.
Well, can I just say one thing? And this
Absolutely.
is nothing against how other writers do it. But when I hear a writer pops out a book every year, I almost don't know how you can do it and have it be, and depending on the book, obviously, but
Right.
to write a historical research novel that I wrote, to write that, do the research, get it right, edit it, make real characters that you care about
Yeah.
and they're fleshed out and you can see them in your mind. I don't know how you could do it in a year.
I don't either. But then you see, the other thing is that they're doing it 8 or 10 hours a day for a year. You're, on the other hand, was doing it shorter periods of time over a longer time, like over 15 years, because you had other responsibilities. A lot of times these writers, that's the only thing they do is they write. And so.
Have you gotten into using any AI for research or for anything that you do?
No.
No?
I mean, if by AI you mean Grammarly.
No.
No. More like
it's really if you're an open AI or artificial intelligence that you're online. I mean, it's quite. I think it's probably going to replace Google.
Yes, and writers.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to replace.
No, I don't think
it's going to. I don't think
No,
it's going to replace writers.
no.
I really don't. I think because there's a lack of humanity in it. Whenever I look at any of the AIs, they're flat. They are. They
They're
really
not
are.
fleshed out.
They're not.
And and it's just, but it's great for research.
It is good for research, and it's good for generating things that, like interview questions. It's good for things like that. That you just keep repeating yourself over and over and over again, but it will come up with better and different ways in which to ask questions and that kind of thing. So it's good for some things. It really is. But to write a book, I don't
I'm
see.
getting ready to publish a book on prompts.
Really?
Yeah. And I was thinking to do a smaller book and just do it for writers. And then.
And you haven't told me this yet? You're
I-
keeping secrets from this adventure?
I guess I woke up this morning and didn't say anything.
You're keeping secrets from me?
Yeah.
You don't know what happened to the last guy that tried to keep a secret.
Oh.
That's all I can tell you. All right.
All right. But do you prefer to write alone or with a group of other writers? You're a loner, aren't you?
I am a loner.
Okay.
I've joined some writing groups and I found them delightful. I just, the story gets going in my head and the conversation's going and I know where it's going to go. Like I said, I had the entire story mapped out in my head. I didn't deviate from it. I had it titled before I put pen to paper.
Wow.
You gonna do that?
Yeah. You are listening to the Author's Edge with Gaëlle Freer and Bob Price, coming to you weekly on Mondays at 3 p.m. on KWRH 92.9 and KXOK 102.9 FM, and Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network. So,
Are you going to do some tips?
well, nah, I don't know. Do we have enough time for tips?
Yes.
We have enough time for tips? Okay. I got this from prowritingaid.com, creative writing tips for beginners. Okay? So, there are lots of different formats that you can do, but there are 4 basic ones that you can pick from that will apply to many different things, which is a story in the form of a how-to guide, a story in the form of a series of letters, a story in the form of an advertisement, or a story in the form of a diary entry. What you should try and do is pick one of those and write with that in mind as a practice of becoming creative. So I'm going to give you that you can do mixes of first person or second person point of view, but you should try and, in other words, instead of just finding different ways in which to approach the same thing. Okay, and sometimes people need to have a map in which to create those things. And so these are 4 different maps or formats that you can use. I got this from prowritingaid.com. So I
the
read
one
it.
about writing in the form of an advertisement. My teacher would have to explain that to me.
Well, in other words, you're
trying to promote a message or promote
a message, promote a style of
an
anything.
idea.
Promote an idea.
Okay.
So you would do it as an advertisement. Diary entry is pretty self-explanatory, but a series of letters or a how-to guide, thinking about how you would go from point A to point B to point C.
Let me ask Barbara a question.
Okay, Barbara.
But thank you for the tip.
That's what I was hoping for.
Did you learn anything about yourself while researching and writing Victor's Blessing?
That my head is kind of a scary place to be, and that there's a lot of people in there, and they want it out.
I love it. It's scary, huh?
A little bit.
All right.
And I wasn't afraid to write unpleasant things. It's fun to write all the pretty, she had a pretty dress on, but I wrote some very gruesome things as well. I took childbirth to a different level. I thought.
Yeah.
Well, that's in the prologue. That's the very beginning of the novel. So I hope that people read on. And I worried about that because the book starts on a very somber note. And I had people say, should you start a novel that way? And I said, well, this is how I want to start it.
Lots of mystery writers start with the murder.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't see that as a problem whatsoever. Starting it at the somber, starting it with stress, because then
But that's what captures your attention.
Exactly what I was going to say. Oh my God.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
What advice do you have for any up and coming writers?
Well, I feel ill-equipped to give advice since I'm still a novice myself, but just write. Just do it. If you want to do it, do it.
Did you ever get stuck?
No, never.
Wow.
Never?
Never. I got stuck with the editing. I never
Right.
got stuck with the story.
Right.
What, did you have a mentor or support group to inspire you while writing the book? A
Martin,
support
Madeline, and
group?
Max.
Your kids.
My 3 children.
Yeah. But I want to get back to the idea of advice. Okay. And the reason I want to do that is because you said that, this is just your first book and, that kind of thing. However, even with it being your first book, there are things that that you could have done or you should have done.
Oh, absolutely.
So what would you say about some of those things?
I overtold the story. I was worried that people wouldn't understand what I was trying to say. Have you ever been watching a movie and everybody around you goes, oh, and you're like, what? I missed it. What did I miss? And rewind it and you're like, I still don't get it. And then your smart friend has to go, well, there's an alien in the closet. And you're like, oh, I missed that part. So I think I overtold the story. I so much wanted them to feel what I wanted them to feel. I feel like I overtold it.
Are you going to do a second edition and trim it back or tell less? Or
well, have you ever read Maeve Binchy, the Irish author? She has since passed away. She wrote about 15 novels. She would start a novel and introduce you to 15 characters. And when you first started reading it, you're like, holy cow, I can't keep all these people straight.
Right.
And by the end of the novel, you know what happens to everybody, you know what their kids' names are, and you loved it. So that's kind of the way I traveled with Victor's Blessing. I wanted you to care about all these people, so I told you a whole lot about them. The biggest criticism I've gotten was that there were too many characters, and they just wanted to hear about the main character, Victor and Selena. So I wanted, but that's not the story I wanted to tell.
What do you hope that people will feel when they read the prologue?
The pain of birth, and TV and movies love to talk about it. But when you, and obviously, Bob, you haven't given birth, but it's, and I know that they portray the pain in the movies, but it's way more than that. There's a tremendous amount of fear and that you're not going to be able to accomplish it and that it's never going to end.
Yeah, well, that's what I had a C-section. I had an emergency C-section with my son. So
you got off easy?
No, because I did 12 hours of labor before the C-section.
Good grief.
Okay.
I had to leave the room when my first child was born. I just couldn't take it.
Yeah. Now, it was 12 hours of labor, emergency C-section. They thought they were going to lose both of us.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And that's with modern technology.
And that was with modern technology. Can you just imagine what it was like then?
In 1830. It's right.
I was trying to think. Somebody just passed away from childbirth.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was possible.
It is in the United States. You should see the stats on that. They are unbelievable for a Western country with all the technology and all of the other things that we supposedly have, that we have that many people, that many women that pass away in childbirth. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot more than you would imagine. I mean, I'd have to look up the stats on it, but I was surprised when I saw
how high it was. Yeah, it's surprising. I agree with you.
So just imagine what it was like then in your book at that time frame. There were more women dying then than they were surviving it.
Yes. Well, that's why they would have several wives. The farmer would, and he'd have to marry them sometimes the same day. And it wasn't that he didn't love the wife that had passed away, but he had 6 kids.
Love had nothing to do with it.
Right. Well, that too. Or affection or even
whatever. Yeah. It was
he had
necessity.
Exactly.
I mean, one of the things when I was teaching is I would tell my students is that, for people to survive out in the middle of nowhere, literally, I mean, we're not talking the middle of nowhere in 2023. We're talking about the middle of nowhere in 18 whatever. You have to have a team. You have to have a husband and you have to have a wife. You have to have 2 people or 3 people or 4 people. You cannot do it only with one person. It does not work because the person that's out in the field doing the work, there's got to be somebody in the house doing the cooking and the cleaning and the making clothes and I mean, it's got to be a team. That doesn't happen any other way. Survival of our nation happened on the backs of women, not on the backs of men, by the way. That's my 2 cents.
Yes, it is.
I like it.
Yeah, but it's true.
It is. It really is.
Because
So-
they wouldn't know how to cook
That's true. Or do laundry.
or survive.
Or survive. In fairness, it has to be a cooperative. Both parties do have to work at it. But,
It was interesting. Barry Plantfield's novel. What was the name of it? Love and Loyalty or something?
yes.
Okay. And it was about the Germans immigrating over here.
That's true.
There was a recent write-up in the Southeast Missourian
For that.
that was about the Germans moving over here, and it was like going from the briar patch across the U.S. to get to the Mississippi. And, when you think about it, it's just a stunning story.
Unbelievably.
Yeah.
Unbelievably. So, what do you hope people will feel when they've read that prologue?
Well, I like things that are tied up at the ends. Ambiguous endings have always not been my thing. I like it to end.
That was what happened with my last book.
Okay.
It was ambiguous. Oh, I wanted to kill the good book. But anyway. Yes. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I wanted it to tie up nicely and them to close the book, and in spite of the war and the discrimination and the poverty at times and the hardship, to feel that Victor had lived a life well lived and taken care of those who loved him, and he was a man to be admired.
All right. I like that. I love neat, tidy endings.
And it gives you a nice blessing at the end.
All right. What do you hope people will feel? Well, you just told me what you're hoping that they feel at the close of the book, right?
Yeah.
A nice blessing at the end. And it can be purchased at Barnes & Noble. It can be purchased at Spine Book and Cafe on Arsenal.
And you can get it on Amazon.
And you can get it on Amazon. Didn't I say that?
Not at the first, but at the very beginning you did, yes.
Did any of your personal experience influence the narrative on this book? Other than Mom?
No, it was just really, it was my mother's idea, and I thought it was so fascinating, and I thought about her often. She's been passed away for 28 years now. And she's in the dedication to in the book, in the front page. And I just, like I said, I thought it was such a great idea, and I wanted to share it with other people because I thought it was so fun.
Wonderful. What are some of your favorite authors?
I loved Maeve Binchy, obviously Emily and Charlotte Bronte. I loved Khaled Hosseini. I loved The Kite Runner. That's another novel that starts with something that's not exactly cheerful.
No, it's not.
I've read all of his novels. I love him. And I even read a romance genre as well. But other than just a standard romance, I wanted people to learn some things about the Civil War from Victor's Blessing. So it was important to me for them to, not to be corny, but to learn something as they read it too.
Absolutely.
So that when they're at a cocktail party, they can go, well, do you know they used indigo to get the clothes white? And things like that. There was trammel hooks in the fire. So that was very important to me, that it would be as historically accurate as I could make it, and just a fun, and despite the Civil War, an uplifting story.
Well, there was, absolutely. There was lots of uplifting things that were going on just during that time frame. I mean, just, we tend to focus on the Civil War being the Civil War at that time frame. So, right? Say
Correct.
right.
Correct.
So right. Oh, wow.
Well, thanks, Barbara, for being here.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah. It was wonderful chatting with you. And like I said before, Victor's Blessing. And you can find it on Amazon, and you can find it at Spine Book and Cafe on Arsenal. And don't forget, folks, the giveaway.
Yes.
Bob will explain the giveaway.
what we're going to do is it'll take me until tomorrow to get it up on the website, but tomorrow, probably by noon, I'll have it up so that you can register for it. First 5 people that register for that with your address, of course, and so Barbara can send it. But first 5 people will get that. And
Well, what's the website?
well, the website is authors-edge.
Is it dash or is it underscore?
No, dash.
It's dash. Authors Edge. Authors-edge.com. Don't forget to sign up for the
But
giveaway.
I'll have it on the front page that the giveaway. So it'll say there, and it'll be a link then that'll take you to that page so you can sign up and grab the book.
Wonderful. So 5 people will get a nice new book.
And I only have one request for those that receive it. Just tell me what you think. The good, the bad, the ugly. I was in outside sales for 35 years. I can handle it. It's already been published. I can't change anything now. But I just want to know if the characters seem real to you, if you're invested in it, or if it's holding the door open, whichever.
Absolutely. That's always been important to me, that we do that. All right. So,
Do the thank you.
yeah, do the thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for tuning in to Author's Edge. Tune in again next week for more tips, resources, and your favorite conversations. Our next guest will be Doug Sykes from Acclaim Press, and we will be chatting with him about the publishing industry. Till then, see you around the inkwell.